welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways, Coyote in the Highlands. See that white wall? That means I'm in one of the travel spots. Let's talk today about precious metals and fiat currency. What does this have to do with enlightenment? Not totally sure, but it's something that interests me a little bit, so we're going to talk about it. Oh, it's hot. I was riding a motorcycle and for a couple of hours, and I'm still hydrating because it's like 105 out here. So there's a general assumption among preppers and the libertarian people and the gold standard people and the people who think that all banking is evil people and the Federal Reserve, conspiracy theorists, and all of that. And I'm not saying they're all wrong, but there's a common thread among them that anytime there's inflation, precious metals go up. Precious metals are a store against inflation and always have more value than fiat currency and are always a good bet. It's just basically wrong. Wrong. Right now, silver is tumbling in the middle of an inflation and economic crisis. A depression is forming. But it's not a credit crisis, not a sovereign debt crisis. And that's one of the key elements to understand. So, in the long term, like in a long-term sense, precious metals, gold and silver primarily, but also palladium and platinum, but mostly gold and silver, tend to hold enough value that you're not, if you can market time a little bit, you're not really hurting. For example, in the mid-70s when gold was floating in that $120 to $150 an ounce range before we had the big, huge crisis of the late 70s. 6 or 8 ounces of gold would get you a decent used family station wagon. Decent. Nothing super fancy, not a $6,000 Galaxy used, but a decent used car. Something that was 8 years old or so, like in that range, okay? Less than a couple $1,000s, right? So figure $1,200 would be 10 ounces. You could probably do $1,000, right? Well, right now the average price of a decent average used car, say an Accord or a I don't know what to tell you, like one of the Volkswagens or whatever, Tahoe, whatever they are. I'm not in that market. I operate in a very different automobile market because I don't like to spend that much money. But 10 ounces of gold right now would get you, let's see, because gold is actually not super high right now. We were talking about 8 ounces of gold, right? So that's going to get you that's actually going to get you a used Civic. Okay, you're going to get about $13,000, $13,500, and right now, if you want a used car that's the equivalent of the family station wagon, the decent, you are looking at a $16,000 to $20,000 used car. Same basic time range and everything. You're not getting a 2005, you're getting a 2012. A 2014, 2016 is the equivalent to what I'm talking about, okay? Wow. Gold hasn't kept up, has it? Nope. So, you're looking at a couple ounces more gold than you would have been at the time. So, it hasn't kept up, all right? And silver isn't doing so hot right now either. Silver has some other issues. Both of them are industrial metals. Both of them are used in manufacturing. Silver more so than gold. Gold has a store of value in the sense that it's a dense, movable wealth, and there's a lot of trust in the world. If you have a gold sovereign or a gold, the Prussian gold or whatever it is, if you have a gold piece that is a known mintage, you've got a store of value. Fair enough, but it doesn't actually keep up with wealth necessarily. If you time the market a little bit better, gold was at 1960, 1970 a little while ago. If you know how to time it, you can do a little bit better than inflation over time. You'll keep your value. Or you can do a little worse. Silver, of course, doesn't track with the economy the same way because silver is very much a manufacturing metal. So silver is down right now. We have high inflation. We have what the new phrase is demand destruction. The inflation in the economy is destroying the demand for things, and that's partly regulation also, especially when it comes to the automotive industry. You know, cars they're cycling through models faster and faster and faster because they don't have 10-year production cycles anymore, because if things go one way in 10 years, there's not going to be any gasoline cars for certain parts of the world. If things go the other way, no one's going to be able to afford cars anyway. So they're cycling through these things, and they're pushing the production numbers down because they're cycling through the models so fast, and there's chip shortages and all this stuff. And gas prices have gone so high that now silver is actually falling because it's an industrial metal. It's used for production of things like cars and trucks and computers and all sorts of electronics. So the demand's going down. So silver's going down. Silver is not keeping track with inflation. One thing to note is that both silver and gold do seem to lag behind these sorts of recession cycles, because what you do when you have a recession cycle like this is you have governments bail out businesses and instigate wealth transfers. The poor people stay poor, the rich people get richer and more powerful. That's how these work. We've watched this. In your living memory, you watched this happen with Obama. The greatest transfer of wealth in global history occurred 2009, 2010, 2011, all the way up until 2014 it was going on. But part of that involved a sovereign debt crisis in Europe, which was at the time when silver finally started going up. It was going down with the recession and the crisis, and then it started going up when the governments had paid all the money to the corporations and the rich people, and then started having their own sovereign debt crises. So you can't really track this. It's one of those assumptions in certain communities that doesn't bear any scrutiny at all. If you scrutinize it, none of it makes any sense. Of course, you can't have a hard gold standard currency in a world that creates infinite wealth. We create wealth at a rate that is amazing and unbelievable. So you can't play zero-sum money games. There's only X number of things. And the idea that you're suddenly rich because you found a rock, but working for 20 years to build a corporation doesn't matter because some guy found a rock. None of that's real, okay? So I don't get into the gold standard, people. Yes, you have to treat your fiat currency responsibly. That's a different topic. But yeah, don't assume that certain economic things are going to move other economic things. It's not that simple, okay? What am I getting at with this whole video? Silver's not going up because of inflation right now. It's going down because of inflation, because the economy is sucking. So you can expect that to go up at some point in the future. I don't know if we're going to hit $30 an ounce again in anytime soon. I don't know what the debt crises are going to look like. The problem is that we're looking at some very unpredictable stuff. If this followed a normal pattern, I would be buying every bit of silver I could get my hands on right now and selling it at 32, 33 target price in a couple of years when the bonds started looking iffy for some conditions, But I don't know with Ukraine and Russia and the Democrats actually advertising the benefits of a nuclear war. I don't know what's going to happen here. It's all a little weird, But yeah, inflation doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means all the time. What we're having right now is an inflation crisis that is not a devaluation of the currency so much. That's part of it. Yes, we probably printed too much money to give to the people indiscriminately in the wrong fashion during the COVID crisis. But the inflation that we have right now is primarily being engineered by regulatory schemes and government-influenced factors. Okay, it's not actually a problem of too much money supply. It is a problem of really screwing up, government sticking its fingers in the gears and screwing up everything about energy, food, and work production, work opportunity production. So that's where your inflation's coming from. It's not really a money supply issue. But we'll see how it goes after this. You know, can't tell you what's going to happen. I have some ideas. And I think it's going to be a fun ride. So stay light, stay easy, relax. You know, if you're going to predict the inevitable doom and crash that everyone has been predicting in my whole life since I got my first silver quarter in 1976, that was supposed to save my life because the economy was going to crash and the money would be worth nothing and all that. Yeah, I've been listening to this for so many decades. Just remember, if you're predicting that, stay lighthearted and remember that it's all fun and games in the game of humanity, okay? Just stay chill. And no, silver doesn't go up with inflation. Silver goes down until the economy recovers. Weird. Stay sideways.